Tonight, we are privileged to have Associate Professor Ting Ting and Dr. Tan Chong Hui, who will speak about the basic concepts of understanding how blockchains work. Associate Professor Ting Ting is the head of BSc in Finance program at the School of Business at SUSS. Dr. Tan Chong Hui is a senior lecturer in the Finance program in the School of Business at SUSS. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Ting Ting as she starts off tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to this session. So in this talk, we are going to talk about blockchain and its applications in the ports and shipping industry. Actually, we have given a similar talk to PSA about a month ago. It's focusing on the shipping industry. So we thought it's useful to give it again and open it to more general public, so you guys can learn more about how blockchain can be applied in this industry. So my colleague, Dr. Tan, will be talking about the conceptual part. He will introduce about what is blockchain, what is the technology, what is behind the Bitcoin, all these cryptocurrencies, how it works. And then after that, I will focus more on the application part, how blockchain technologies are used in various industries, and then we zoom into the shipping industry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me here. The main driver behind why fintech arose is Bitcoin. And there are lots of technical things behind Bitcoin that is perhaps best appreciated in an abstract manner. All right? So I'll try to explain some of these things. And I hope I can convey some of the enthusiasm I have concerning these. And the abstract point of view allows us to see in an X-ray fashion what this thing is about, and then we can kind of extrapolate how things will develop in the future. In a very brief way, what is this phenomenon about? Okay, it's less talked about if you read about fintech. If you try to search about fintech information on the internet, it's mostly about current things that are going on. Things are they're hyped, they are popular, funds are being raised, ICOs, and that kind of stuff. I'm more philosophical in nature. Yeah. So what's the nature of fintech? What's this thing about? Okay. So to understand, to appreciate what fintech is about, my approach is we should think about the past, use the past to help us understand what's going on at present. At present, we ask what is the nature of cryptocurrencies, and with that insight, we try to ask what lies ahead. Without this blue arrow of what lies ahead, then there's no purpose. The purpose is to try to understand what lies ahead, and we need evidence. Okay? So that's the simple strategy that we have. So what is fintech? Simplistically, fintech, the word is made up of two parts, fin and tech, a combination of finance and technology. Finance, on the surface, comprises of stocks, futures, derivatives, loans, bonds, FX, foreign currencies, things that you hear in the news, read in the papers about finance. Okay? Technology, we are totally immersed in it. Yeah? It's about computers, about the internet. But to have a better grasp at these things, we try to dig deeper, yeah? And ask about what is the nature of finance, what is the nature of technology, and hopefully we find some common ground. And the common ground is underlined there already. So let me bring you through what I'm trying to say here. If you look at the things that I mentioned about finance earlier, stocks, futures, derivatives, loans, bonds, FX, and so on, they are just contracts, and money are tokens. And these contracts and tokens are being written, passed around, exchanged, and in the process, prices are produced, and notions of acceptance, possession, exchange price arise from interactions between people with respect to contracts and tokens. Okay, so if you think about what's going on, it's people playing some game with each other or interacting with each other, passing around tokens, enter into futures contracts, derivative contracts, writing contracts and agree to uphold those contracts amongst themselves. And in the future, exchange assets and so on and so forth. It's a form of communication. Okay? I pass something to you, you pass something to someone, which is a form of communication. It's just that the usual form of communication that we are used to is I telling you something, you hear something from me, and then you pass that information to somebody else. But here, we are passing things. Not so much the usual kind of information, but things. Tokens, contracts, and so on. But the similarity is very striking. It's a form of communication. And in technology, infotech is clearly about communication. We all know that. Okay, so where finance and technology get glued together, it's communication. So I'm trying to get at the nature of fintech. And I'm trying to say that to understand fintech, you must understand that it is a phenomenon of communication. All right? Now, to put some meat, make things concrete in what I'm trying to describe to you, let us try to understand how money evolved. Okay? If you have a sense of how money evolved, you have a sense of the nature of money, then you can better understand the nature of fintech. This is a very brief version of how money evolved. Long time ago, even before written history, we know that people like gold. It's buried with kings and so on. So gold has been a valuable object for longest time. Yeah? So even before recorded history, we know gold has been a valuable object. And it's natural to take it that gold was passed around to some extent. Maybe not to the extent of what we see in markets these days. But gold being valuable, people like them, it glitters, it can be made into jewelry, it was passed around in exchange of things. That's natural. So it must have been going on for ages before there was writing. Okay? And then in 1005 BCE, Shang dynasty in China, they exchanged cowrie shells as a form of money. And then in 500 BCE, Lydia, the first form of coins, the metal electrum was mined and minted into coins, first form of coins. In Qiguo, money in the form of daggers. Maya exchanged cocoa beans. So they were exchanging cocoa beans. Cocoa beans were all alike, and they were exchanging cocoa beans with other things, so it functioned like money. Okay? And 500 AD, on the island of Yap, is still there. Huge stone coins, circular in shape, with a circle, with a hole in the middle. These things function as money. They are so huge that they cannot be moved around. So after a while, people just remember that these things are, oh, this coin, this rock there, it belongs to this family. And everybody on the island agrees upon that. People don't have to be in physical contact with the stone money to recognize that that belongs to someone. Okay? And then in Tang Dynasty, that's one of the earliest form of paper money. And then in 1001 AD, England started to use tally-stick system to record taxes. These things, they are records on the tally sticks. And those are records of taxes. But the stick itself eventually came to be passed around like money. Then Medici started. Medici is one of the earliest, most successful bankers from the Italian Renaissance. And the bankers, they created a new form of money. What is the form of money they created? Just writing it down. Writing things down. Oh, you owe me some money. I owe you, who owes who money. Just writing the records down. The records. Keeping those ledgers is a form of money. But it wasn't recognized until probably now, or some other more insightful people. Yeah? And then now we have Bitcoin. So if you look along this spectrum, this history, you have gold, which is very concrete, and then paper, and then money seems to become more and more abstract, more and more useless. You think gold is very useful, okay? These are concrete things, you can touch them, but it becomes more and more useless as time evolves, apparently. But if you look at World War II, in prisoner of war camps, people exchange cigarettes as a form of monetary exchange. So depending on the times, people will hinge upon something that is common, and there's sufficient demand in that thing, and that thing can arise as money. So this is evidence, this is history. From this, let us try to have a sense of what money is. Yeah. So what really is money? Money is not just things, right? Gold is something, and then you start to think, oh, money is something like gold. But if you go along this spectrum, money seems to vaporize. It seems to become software, become something useless. It's just an idea, right? So money is a thing, but then we cannot really understand money on its own. It has to be our relationship with things. So we have relationships with things. The most primarily important things to us are food. And then we have valuables, but we also have ideas. Okay, we possess ideas. So we have various relationships with various kinds of things. Some of them are food, some of them are for status and beauty, and some of them, ideas, are for signification and communication. Right? So the first thing to realize is that there are things in this world, and there are us, and we have relationships with things. So if we look more closely at what these things are, we can roughly categorize them as food, as things of value, as software, ideas. But also very important is that this relationship is not really private. We are social creatures. They are social in nature. Yeah? So this person here, this caveman say, oh, that's mine. Yeah, sure. These relationships are recognized and accepted. That's a social concept. Right? If there's only one person on this earth, there's no need for money. That relationship must be recognized by others. Then it starts to make sense. And this person here utters that this belongs to me, and he accepts that. And this person over here communicates that idea to another person, and this notion of someone possessing something is being spread around and passed down. Okay? Ideas also represent things, but remember, ideas themselves are also things. And you see these ideas and things moving around in a very interesting interaction that gives rise to money in these following few slides. In a loan, what happens is this caveman on the left goes to a bar and wants beer, but he didn't bring his money. So this caveman here gives him beer, and he says, I owe you. All right? And this idea is being passed to the caveman on the right. So there's an exchange going on. So the loan is simply I owe you. Idea is exchanged with beer. But that exchange can also be concretized. So I owe you, but let me give you a token of remembrance that I owe you something. Okay? So the exchange takes on a slightly different form. Previously, it was just a communication of software, an idea. Now it's represented as a thing. But that same exchange can also be represented in a different way. It's recorded down. Oh, I owe you. Sure, I'll remember you for that. So he writes it down in his book. He owes me something. Another scenario is a witness comes along and the person on the left says, I owe you. Okay, this person is a witness, and if you don't come back with payment next time, I'll find him and he'll be the judge and you'll be in trouble. Okay? So a witness can also feature in another configuration. So at this juncture, what is finance? Finance, informationally speaking, concerns the possession of things of value and the social recognition of this relationship. This is my definition of finance. Okay? Of course, all the banks, stocks, bonds, those are important. Those are what finance is right now. But in taking a more scientific view that can cut across all time, a more information view that will help us appreciate fintech better, I find this definition useful. Finance, from the information perspective, concerns the possession of things of value and the social recognition of this relationship. If you think about bonds, think about stocks, about money, they all boil down to this. A loan is very natural, and in a loan, some things are being passed around. But this is just between two persons. Money, as we know it, is a large-scale phenomenon involving lots of people. So, how does an exchange like that, involving one thing between two persons, become money? Involving many people and the same types of things being passed around in that community. That is important to ask, because if you look at the history, okay, there were things lying around, and it's reasonable to accept that people pass these things around, but on a small scale. But how do they actually become something like money? Then you must start to ask yourself, how does a small-scale phenomenon become a large-scale phenomenon? Involving many people, passing around copies of something that look alike to each other, as we know money is today. That thing that is being passed around must satisfy certain properties. It must be durable, it must be recognizable, it must be transferable, and people must trust it. If it's not durable, food is not durable. Food can never become money. Right? That's common sense, right? But food is important. Food drives us to exchange things. It is the primary driver. But it doesn't become money. It must be durable. It must always be there. It must be recognizable. You have people exchanging different sorts of things. They are incomparable to each other. It's nothing like the money that we know. Money must consist of tokens that are all similar, alike to each other. Okay? So they must be recognizable. They must be transferable. I must be able to give it to you. Natural. I mean, that's what money is all about. I buy something, I pay you money, I must give it to you. You have to, then you accept it. It must be transferable. But interestingly, think about it. The island of Yap, those big stones, are they transferable? They're so huge, they don't move them. They are, in their minds. Yeah, the whole community accepts it. Trust. It's just pieces of paper. Think about it. Our dollar notes. Right? If you take this piece of paper and go back in time and give it to an early man, what will they think it is? They'll trash it. They'd rather choose gold because they can touch it. So a dollar note only makes sense to us, this community. And that community must trust that that dollar note, the piece of paper, is of value before they themselves exchange these dollar notes with concrete, tangible things. So for something to become money, that thing or that class of things must satisfy certain properties. Particularly, they must be durable, recognizable, transferable, and people must trust them. Okay? But if you think about it, there's no need to have anything at all. You don't need to have anything concrete to satisfy all these properties. Just record. Just write it down. Records itself. Writing things down, that software, is durable, recognizable, transferable, and as long as people trust it, it'll work. So you don't need to have people exchanging tangible things. You just have to record that act down. What are they exchanging? Something. Doesn't matter what it is. Then it becomes money. Okay, but you need the community to trust it. Yeah? Trust is an important ingredient. Then the next question is to ask is, okay, since recording things down can function as money because it's durable, recognizable, transferable, and people, as long as people trust it, it'll work. Who records it? It's important. Okay, if I don't trust this person, it's not going to work. Banks play this role. That's what the Medicis and other Italian bankers discover. I don't think they sat down and think about the whole game. They just went along and it worked. Banks are being trusted to do this. And when people go through the banker and the banker records all these exchanges down, this network here is a centralized topology. Okay, there's one central node, the banker, that does all the recording. It's a centralized topology. In an alternative model, a democratic recording model, everybody does the recording. In the model that we are used to, the bank does the recording. In a democratic recording, everyone does the recording. Whenever I give you, this gentleman over here, 5 tokens, I announce to the whole world, and everybody records that act down. Everybody in this room recognizes that I am less 5 tokens, he has more 5 tokens. So that's democratic recording. It's a decentralized topology. Why has Bitcoin arisen? Because of the internet. The internet allows decentralized topology, democratic recording to happen. Okay? On the internet, you can have peer-to-peer communication. I don't have to go through a central node in order to maintain a community of beliefs. I just do I just shout out to everyone. Democratic recording, peer-to-peer communication. Now, the first successful example of using the internet to carry out peer-to-peer communication, to maintain a certain community of interaction, is not Bitcoin, it's BitTorrent. People don't hear too much of it. You may hear it, but if you don't dig into what it is about, you may think, oh, this is illegal stuff. People use it to share copyrighted stuff, illegal codes, illegal videos, illegal software, whatever, okay? But it's open source software, and companies do use this technology to maintain files and so on. So it's a useful piece of software. But when you start to use it to exchange illegal items, then you'll be in trouble. But that doesn't take away the fact that this gentleman here, Bram Cohen, was the first person to successfully implement democratic recording on the internet using peer-to-peer communication, but not to implement the exchange of tokens, money, but to exchange files. Okay? The goal of this network is to communicate a complex piece of information. And then after that, probably 10 years after BitTorrent, Satoshi Nakamoto appeared, and he used the same idea to create money. And the goal of his network is to communicate the possession relationships between users and tokens and changes in these relationships. If you dig into what Bitcoin does, it's just records. Yeah? The whole software just records things. But what are these things that are being recorded? Transactions. I give you 5 Bitcoins. You give him 3 Bitcoins. All these transactions are recorded. Now, what is Satoshi Nakamoto's innovation? I picked out 3 points from what I read of the code. 1, cryptographic signatures uniquely represent identities on the internet. Okay? Announcement in peer-to-peer network makes information public. Default acceptance and proof of work consensus keeps the records in sync. I'll try to explain this briefly. Yeah? It's a very complicated piece of software that he wrote. Okay? And many parts of it are just replicas, duplicates of great ideas from elsewhere. But what then makes this a monetary system? Okay, what is so unique about it? To me, there are 3 highlights. 1, cryptographic signatures uniquely represent identities on the internet. When I say I give you 5 tokens, okay, that transaction is signed. I have to sign it. And that signature is cryptographic in nature. Okay? I don't want to go into the details of that, but just imagine that if you can't sign things, then nobody will know whether that's a bluff. Anybody can take over my role and say, oh, I give you 3, I give you 5. Then the money won't work anymore. Anybody can just give out any amount of money. Okay? If I have 5 because of previous transactions, and the whole community recognizes that, and then I give that 5 to this gentleman over here, all these transactions must be rock solid. People cannot bluff. Okay? The gist there is cryptography. Cryptographic signatures. I cannot bluff. Announcement in peer-to-peer network make information public. That's what I said earlier. Instead of a bank keeping all the secret to himself, everybody shout out aloud, hey, I am giving this gentleman over here 5 tokens to the whole world knows. Okay? So announcement in peer-to-peer network makes information public. Default acceptance. In that software, it's open source. Okay? How do you start interacting or using Bitcoins? You download the software, it's open source, everyone can do that. And once you download it, it's like a walkie-talkie. You just communicate with all other peers on the internet who are playing around with Bitcoin. It's just a walkie-talkie. And that walkie-talkie is not hardware, it's software. You can open it up and look at what's inside. And you can start tweaking it and changing it. It's a complex piece of software, and in it, there are many defaults. Defaults means the settings are already set. So if you start playing with it, those are assumed. Because of these default settings, once people start playing with this game, there is a bedrock of default assumptions going on already. That starts the game going. Okay? Without the default assumptions, when all of us come into this room without a common ground, it's like market, it's chaos. But those default assumptions start the game running. And the proof of work consensus algorithm sustains that consensus over time. Okay, the whole point, once the game starts running, you see, you need the game to start running. The software is there, people can simply, I don't want to play this game. But once the game starts running, there is a positive feedback effect. Then the technical challenge is, how do you keep the communication in sync? See, there is no central node like the bank to keep the records consistent. Everybody is just shouting out to each other. Okay? So his great idea is something called the proof of work consensus algorithm. That keeps the seemingly chaotic scene in sync. So if you look at how Bitcoin evolved, initially Satoshi had an idea. And then he invites a few people, computer geeks, to start playing this game, exchanging tokens with each other. Over time, more and more people start to play this game. Positive feedback effect makes it grow. The network has been growing ever since. All right? So with this understanding of the nature of fintech, nature of finance, what can we anticipate about the future? So you see, it doesn't have to be anything concrete. It's about contracts between people and the writing down of these contracts. And that's what finance is all about. And the writing of these contracts pertain more, it has a global scope, a bigger scope than just finance if you think about it. It concerns the whole of human sociality. So wherever you have people coming together, writing things down, agreeing upon a contract, and then that contract can change over time, that is where these ideas behind fintech can have an impact in the future. Okay? So anticipating the future, what will the future lie along this developmental path? I think, to me, okay, I think there will be more refined financial arrangements, refined in terms of the clauses can be made more sophisticated, refined in terms of different communities can form to uphold these contracts. Trust, the idea of trust will undergo dissection. So what kind of trust are you talking about? Trust of knowledge, trust of central coordinator, trust of code, trust of system, all kinds of different types of trust. And this technology will allow deeper interaction between people, things, and ideas. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chong Hui. Chong Hui gave us a very detailed explanation how money evolved over time and how Bitcoin came about, and then what is the logic behind Bitcoin and how blockchain work. He even though he didn't mention anything about blockchain, actually the whole process of how blockchain work and how it came about was already explained quite clearly. So I'll just do a quick summary about what it is and how it works. So blockchain, it's one of the underlying technologies used in the implementation of Bitcoin. So the key innovation from Bitcoin lies in the ability to prevent double spending. So that means if I make a transaction with anybody, it's recorded by the network and everyone recognizes it. And I cannot give the same amount, the same money to anyone else. So it's recognized by the network. And everyone in the network, they help to keep record of it. So it's a decentralized peer-to-peer global payment system. And blockchain can be a ledger that stores and secures any digital information. So not only coin or token, it can also record any transaction or contract. So it's not just a payment system. It can be a decentralized ledger that records anything, any information. So we have now evolved from a centralized platform to a distributed. So right now we are still at this stage. Remember, our transactions are all kept in the banks, in our stock exchange. They are all centralized. But in the future, we are moving towards decentralized with some local centers to eventually distribute it. So there's no center at all. Everyone is equal node in the network. Everyone has the same access to the data, to information. So that's the ideal goal of a blockchain platform. So this slide tells you how Bitcoin is created in just 6 steps. So when transaction is made between any two persons, it's encrypted, and then a block is created. And then this block must be publicized, must be made known to everybody in the network. So it's distributed to all the participants. Everyone got to know about this transaction. And then validation is in process. People need to validate. So the whole network must recognize it. They must approve it. And then the approved one, it's like a game. Actually, this step is quite complicated. It cannot be just explained in a few minutes. It's a algorithm that is developed when the program is written or the software is created. So people must compete to record this transaction. And then the winner will be chosen. So only one record will be accepted by everyone. We all agree to the same record. So these 6 steps will complete the creation of one block. And then this will continue. The new created block will carry forward all the past history, all the past information, the past transactions will be carried forward by each of the block. So blockchain can be, depending on the nature, it can be public chain, private chain, or completely private. If it's completely fully private, it's not a blockchain. It's not our common sense of blockchain. It's too private. It's between you and me, 2 persons or 3 persons. It's not a public chain. Public chain means everybody can join it, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum. Everyone just download the software to your PC, you install it, and then you can access the data there. You can see all the historical transactions since the first day of Bitcoin. All the past year's data you can check. That's public blockchain. Private blockchain, there are some fully private blockchain and consortium blockchain. So there's some people created this private blockchain, then they can give permission to certain people. Only people with permission can join that private blockchain. For example, right now in the banking industry, some of the banks, actually quite a lot, about the 20, 30 banks that are working together to provide the private blockchain system among all these 30 banks, 30 over banks. They work together, and only with permission. Only you have permission, then you can access the data in this network. The features of blockchain, including they are distributed or decentralized. Everyone have the same access. It's quite transparent to anyone who join the blockchain. Consensus mechanism. That means once you join this network, you agree to it. You agree to the protocol. You agree to the pre-designed algorithm or the rules designed by this blockchain. And irreversibility and crypto security. So once a block is created, no one can change it. It's already accepted by everyone in the network. Only when the whole community, more than 51% of the community, they agree to change, then change can be made to the blockchain, to the records, to the past records. Openness, open to everyone. Everyone can join it. And anonymity, so you don't need to disclose your personal information. Like Bitcoin platform, there's no personal information attached to the transactions. If you want to make a transaction, you only have the other person's public address. Then you send your token, your Bitcoin, to this address. You don't know who the other side, on the other side, who it is. It's completely anonymous. Multi-platform, so that means everyone has the same. It can be run in multiple nodes, multiple PCs everywhere. So applications of blockchain there are many areas because of the wonderful features of blockchain. It can be applied in many areas where information needs to be recorded, and then this information needs to be shared by a group of people. So as long as information needs to be recorded and then this information needs to be shared by a group of people, then we can use blockchain technology to record the information and then make it public to the network. For example, telecommunications, voting, healthcare, notarization, banking, equity, brokerage and exchange, insurance. All these, there are applications already developed in all the various areas. So later I will probably give more examples. Yeah, this is another example. This is a consortium blockchain that is currently run by the banks. All these banks, they work together. They created this R3 blockchain platform. Then the banks, they can share information with each other. So this is a private blockchain. They're using the Ethereum platform. So blockchain has been there for many years. It's beyond Bitcoin. It starts earlier than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and the other types of cryptocurrencies or tokens, they are considered the first generation of blockchain application. Usually tokens are exchanged in this network. That's the generation 1, blockchain 1.0. A few years ago, there are some new applications of blockchain. For example, Ethereum. On the Ethereum platform, people not only do transactions of tokens, they can also create smart contract on the platform. So they can create a contract. The contract can be also recorded in this platform. So that's the second generation, blockchain 2.0, smart contracts and Ethereum. So right now we are probably around this age. Moving forward in the future, there will be large-scale applications of blockchain. Right now we are still at the pilot stage. Most of the big companies, they are still trying out on a small scale, on a pilot scale, to do blockchain projects. Hopefully, in a few years' time, this can be increased into larger scale. Let me show you some examples of blockchain for shipping. So first of all, current development of blockchain applications. In the past 2-3 years, there are large amount of investment made in this area. For example, venture capital has spent more than 1 billion in just 2017. 2018, this number is much bigger. And IBM has successfully turned itself into a blockchain consulting firm with its Hyperledger platform. So they are actually providing a lot of blockchain solutions to other bigger corporations. Google has reportedly working with blockchain since 2016. And the financial industry is the one that spent most on blockchain projects, 1.7 billion annually in the past 2-3 years. And there was a survey done last year. And according to the survey, 84% of companies are dabbling in blockchain. They are afraid that they will be left behind if they don't do anything about blockchain. If they don't invest any money in R&D, in blockchain, they will lose out, they will be left behind. So people are all very excited about this new technology, but then we are still at a very early stage. No one knows what will happen next and how we are going to make it into really a big, big change. There's a report done by Forbes just a few months ago that lists all the top 50 largest public companies exploring blockchain. What are they doing with blockchain right now? All of them actually are busy exploring. For example, Tencent in China is working with Shenzhen state government on a taxation project using blockchain technology. So because blockchain can be used to record information, and in China, tax is a big problem because every people use online transactions in WeChat, in Alipay. These online transactions, there's no receipt. There's no proper record of all the transactions. So how you make people pay tax for those transactions? It's a big problem. Another example, Alibaba. Alibaba is the e-commerce giant in China. So they are exploring how they can use blockchain technology to assist the food supply chain. Another example, IBM, they have successfully launched this Hyperledger Fabric platform that help a lot of companies to make changes, to adopt this blockchain in their business. Prudential is working with StarHub in Singapore to launch a blockchain-based trade platforms for small business. And like Amazon is also integrating a number of blockchain projects, and they recently partnered with Ethereum startup Consensus. So all these big companies, they are making big steps into the blockchain development, like Samsung, AXA, Walmart, and the largest one is ICBC. If you look at this report, among the top 10, at least 3 or 4 are from China, and actually many of them are from the banking industry, banks. The banks, they are using blockchain platform to keep records and also to verify digital identification for client. So blockchain can be used in many different areas in the banks, not only for transaction, it can also be used for data, for client data. So this graph summarizes the current applications of blockchain in various areas. Banking and finance is still the largest area that are using blockchain, more than 30%. Government and public goods, about 13%. Insurance, about 12%. So you notice here, actually, all these companies, banking, insurance, they have a lot of data to store. They have a lot of data, and they also need to share the data among the various departments in this corporation. So blockchain can be a very useful platform for a big company that has a lot of data to share. There are great potential for all these areas where data need to be installed in a safe and secure way, and then can be made public to anybody in this organization. So in short, when we talk about the applications of blockchain system or blockchain technology, there are 3 major areas that we can consider. First one is asset tokenization, like what happened in the past 2 years, the rise of the ICO. So all tangible or intangible asset can be made into a token. It can be tokenized and then traded on the blockchain platform, including some illiquid asset. For example, if you live in a village of 20, 30 people, and you only own a cow in this village, and everyone has a share to it, to this cow. If you want to trade your share, then how would you do it? It's very hard if there's no record of the ownership. But if you can use blockchain to record the ownership of this illiquid asset, then everyone's share can be easily transacted or exchanged among anyone in this network. You don't need to sell the cow or kill the cow and then you get your share. You don't need to wait until the end. You can anytime trade or transact your share if you have a blockchain system to record the ownership, the transactions. So any illiquid asset can be converted into token, and it can be efficiently fractionalized, traded, and settled on the chain. So first one is asset tokenization, like the ICOs. A second area for application of blockchain is the supply chain management. It's very useful for supply chain companies, for the whole supply chain industry, because in the supply chain industry, there are a lot of records needs to be maintained, need to be updated. So blockchain allows multiple parties to access a database to act as the single source of truth. So this blockchain, if it can be shared by all the different partners in this supply chain, then everyone have the same access to data, and it's updated. And recorded transactions are immutable. It cannot be changed by any single party. Everyone has to agree to it if there's a change. And then it can allow a product to be documented in real time as it moves from its original. So along the way, when this shipment moves from one port to another port, along the way, all parties involved, they can join the same network on the blockchain platform, and they can get the same updated information. So this can reduce a lot of paperwork, a lot of redundancy. It can enhance transparency and also improves regulatory compliance, reduce paperwork, and lessens costs. So it's a very useful tool for the supply chain industry. Another area for application potential for blockchain to grow is the healthcare. In this sector, there are a lot of information. Patients' information need to be stored in multiple areas, in the multiple institutions. And the institutions, they can join the same blockchain platform. They can exchange information fast, transparent, efficiently. So without the patient has to bring his own data or profile or past information to another institution. They can just permit one institution to allow another institution to view the data. So this also gives the patient control over his own data. So it can be a private blockchain. It doesn't need to be a public blockchain. So anybody, including the patient, they can give permission. They can allow certain people to view his data. So he doesn't need to bring his data everywhere. So since blockchain is so good, is it going to be the next big thing? Is it going to impact everyone? We have to evaluate case by case. It not necessarily will benefit everyone. To enjoy the benefit of blockchain, there are four criteria you have to go through. The first one, number of participants involved. So if there are only one or two persons, if it's a very small group, we only need to record information for this very small group. Probably we don't need a blockchain. Blockchain is for a larger community, a larger group of people involved. Then every party involved need to get the updated information. They need to keep on the same page. They need to get the same access to data, then it's useful. So more parties involved, then it's more useful. Complexity of business purpose. Blockchain is used for keeping records, keeping data. And then the data can be shared by multiple parties in this network. If there are more than one business purpose, for example, you keep your data not only for your patient or client, you also need to report to the authority. You also need to use the data to pay, to keep your tax records. So there are multiple purposes involved in keeping this data. Then it's more useful. So the data kept for this purpose can also be used for another purpose. So you can allow different parties, different institutions to view the same set of data for different purpose. Then it's more useful. The more objective you can achieve using the same set of data, then the better, the more benefit you enjoy from this blockchain. And then the third one, need for long-term record keeping. If you need to keep a long history of past transactions, then blockchain is the best choice. Yeah, because each block carries forward the previous block's information. It cannot be changed. It's irreversible. So it's accurate, it's transparent, and it will keep for a very, very long time. Then the last one is the need for real-time transfer of asset or payments. So for example, in the supply chain industry, every party involved, they need to get the most recent status, where the ship is, right? If you need real-time transfer of asset or real-time information, then blockchain is a very good technology for you because it's updated every block. Like in the Bitcoin system, every 10 minutes, there's an update in the system. So every 10 minutes, a block is created. And then this new block carries all the information from day one. So it's constantly updated. So everyone can have access to the same real-time, most updated information. So you have to evaluate all these 4 criteria: number of participants, complexity of business purpose, and need for long-term records, and need for real-time transfer of assets. Okay, I just quickly go through why it is important for shipping. Because as I explained just now, supply chain will be a great area for blockchain to develop and grow because of the features of blockchain. Shipping industry has been moving very fast in developing blockchain technology. For example, the largest shipping company, Maersk, they have worked together with IBM to create the world's first blockchain-based electronic shipping platform. And in this blockchain platform, they are going to manage and track the millions of shipping containers by digitizing the supply chain process and enhance transparency and security of sharing information among the company's stakeholders. So every party involved in the process can have the same access to data. And the other companies are also working on it. Other big companies in the shipping industry, like Mercuria, all these big companies, they are all moving ahead to implement blockchains. How does it help the shipping industry? So previously, in the shipping industry, there are a lot of paperwork, a lot of contracts, charter party agreements, bills of lading, ports documents, letter of credit, and other related with vessel and cargo, other documents. There are a lot of paperwork, a lot of record keeping. But if they can move this whole thing into the big blockchain platform, then all the paperwork can be saved. It can run automatically and self-execute because of the smart contract function on the platform. Smart contract means you and the other party, you create a smart contract on this blockchain platform. And once the conditions are met, then the contract will be automatically executed. And no one can single-handedly just change it because it's irreversible. Once you agree to the contract on the platform, it's final. And both parties has to agree to any changes. So blockchain can bring a lot of benefits to the shipping industry. Quick processing time and real-time updates. Every few minutes, there's an update. It can save a lot of costs and higher accuracy because it's digital, it's on the platform, and its contracts are automatically executed. There's less error, increased security, and full transparency. It depends what permission you give. Only permitted parties can access the data, can see the data. So it's quite secure. And everyone has the same access. If they are given the permission, everyone has the same access to the full data. So it's fully transparent. But then there are also challenges lying ahead. So to design this blockchain platform, they involve a lot of preconditions. You have to discuss carefully with your counterparties, and then you agree on certain terms, then you can create this blockchain or smart contract. And once the contract is created on the blockchain, it cannot be changed compared to a written contract. It's less flexible. You have to make a lot of changes in the algorithm, or design, or the protocol on the platform. So it's technically speaking, it's more complicated. And right now, the acceptance of the smart contract on blockchain platform is still quite low. So more parties, more institutions need to be aware of this and agree to use this platform. So global adoption is another challenge. So right now, the blockchain has been growing very fast in the past 2-3 years. But right now, we are still at a very early stage. We are still at this pioneering stage. We haven't reached the full growth. According to the studies right now, although a lot of money has spent into blockchain developments, but right now, many prototypes have been built, but blockchain technology has not yet seen widespread applications at large scale. So right now, it's still at a smaller pilot scale. There are still quite a lot of challenges lying ahead. Hopefully, in the next few years, all these challenges can be overcome, and then we can see large scale of applications in those various areas of application. So blockchain, although the technology is this new thing, there are a lot of good features to it. They can bring a lot of benefits to various industries that can potentially use it. Still, companies, once they decide to invest, they have to be careful. They have to think a lot of things. Like they have to identify the problem that they want to solve using the blockchain technology. What problem? What pain point? There must be a good use case. And then after that, they have to evaluate whether blockchain can bring a good ROI, whether blockchain technology can really help them to save costs and bring higher profit, higher returns. And then once they decide to implement, then they have to commit to a path to adoption. That means a lot of money needs to spend. There's a long way to go to bring it to a large scale of applications. Okay, I think with that, I'll end my part. Thank you.